Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I am reviewing a pen that I think is a really interesting pen. It's a pen from the Taiwanese brand, Fine Writing International, and this is their brass fountain pen. Now, this pen is interesting for a number of reasons. Yes, it is a pen that takes a standard number 6 nib, and it comes with a Yovo nib, branded with the company logo, but still a Yovo nib. But this pen, unlike a lot of its competitors, which have come out recently that are basic number 6 nib holders, this pen has something really interesting going for it in terms of design and aesthetics. So I think it's a really interesting pen. We're going to look at it in more detail, of course. As a Taiwanese brand, it's available from a number of retailers online or from Fine Writing themselves, which is where I got this one. And yeah, but it's a really interesting pen. Let's check it out and we'll look at it in more detail. Well, here we are with the Fine Writing International brass fountain pen. It comes in a plain, simple cardboard box, and inside that box is a very cool tin. Metal tin, opens up, very handy for other uses as well, I assume, if you don't want to. It's got filling information there. This pen wasn't provided with a syringe, but as this suggests, and as a couple of the websites where the pen is available suggests, you can eyedrop this pen even though it has quite a few sort of metal parts. Now, as you can see, we'll start with the fact that this pen has some patina on it now, which is nice. These brass pens will patina like any sort of brass. You carry it around, you know, it gets moisture, it gets oxygen and all of that sort of stuff on it. It's going to discolor. You could easily bring this back up to shine. In fact, over this, I'll just quickly overlay a few seconds of the pen as I unboxed it, just so you can see the difference in how it looks straight out of the box as opposed to how it looks after being used for a few weeks. So yes, let's talk about the pen. As I said, it's made in Taiwan. The materials are brass on the cap, the end cap, and the section, which you'll see in a second. And the barrel of the pen is made from what they describe as an indestructible acrylic. It's a flat top pen, flat ends, nice sort of heavy brass, with a really interesting sort of Taiwanese sort of style decoration, ornamentation on the parts, which is quite nice to see. So yes, brass cap, acrylic body, mostly sort of fairly cylindrical, octagonal body. It's hard to see because it's got the round top, but it's 8-sided, nice sort of cap, and that same sort of styling is taken onto the end cap there. The barrel itself is cylindrical and very nice and smooth. It's nice to have sort of these two different materials next to each other. Okay, so it's a screw to cap, and it's got some nice, very smooth threads. The threads aren't sharp either, and there's a very minimal step down there onto the section. The section is made of brass as well. It's a nice sort of comfortable size section. We'll get into that more in the measurements, and as I said, it's got a number 6 Yovo nib, and with their feather design or quill design on it, and then sort of the normal sort of plastic Yovo feed. Okay, the barrel unscrews. You can take the standard international converter, which it has in there at the moment, or standard international cartridges, long and short, or as I said, it can be eyedroppered, even though it's got some sort of brass elements. A few places say it can, so it's not something I've tested, but you know, on the other fine writing pen, which I did eyedrop it, which was made of completely of plastic, you'll see that there needed to be some silicone grease on the threads. It does have a little O-ring, which you can just sort of see just there at the end of the, I'll just quickly unscrew that a little bit, just there at the end of the section there is a little O-ring, which also helps, you know, sort of torque the barrel down when you're screwing it in. It does post, this pen, but it becomes very long. It posts very securely, actually, right down to that point there on the, I don't know if you can see that, on onto that point on the end cap. It does make a very long pen and quite back heavy, which we'll get into a little bit later as well. As I said, it's got the a nice sort of brass section there, slight sort of taper there, and then a little lip there on the end, which sort of stops you running onto the nib and feed as you write. But it's a very, very comfortable pen. It's a very nice pen. But what is really interesting about this pen is the lack of branding. Like, there is this figurine sort of figure appears on the tin as well. But other than the nib, there's fine writing that I haven't been able to find anywhere on the pen where it's labelled as Fine Writing International or anything like that. Okay, so let's talk. First I said filling system, yeah, cartridge converter, all of that sort of stuff. Let's talk size. So in terms of the measurements of the pen, it's 140 millimeters when it is capped. It's 132 when it's uncapped, so it's a nice sort of length, and it's 172 when it's capped. The section is about 10 millimeters in the middle there, which is a really nice length, width. Sorry. The weight of the pen. Now this is where it's interesting. So even though the pen has a plastic liner, it is made, the cap is made of basically solid brass, and the plastic being there basically for the screws and to protect the brass itself. This is not a light pen. It weighs in at 56 grams. Now, 56 grams isn't that heavy for a pen, but one thing you have to take into account is that without the cap and inked, this pen is 26 grams. So 30 grams of the pen's weight, more than half, is in the cap. So if you decide to post this, you are getting a pen that is incredibly back heavy. Without the cap, the weight is almost perfectly balanced and lets you do the writing with a little bit of weight just in the nib, just letting it down onto the page. For me, unposted, this is almost the perfect pen for any writing situation. So let's compare this pen to the all-time sort of standard pen for size comparison, the Lamy Safari. Now, the Lamy Safari is about 140 millimeters when it's uncapped as well. I'll put them around the same pages. So the pens are basically the same length when they are capped. When they are uncapped, once again, there's really not a lot in it at all, millimeters if anything. And then posted, once again, not a huge amount in it. The fine writing pen just sort of taking the cake in length on both other occasions. So it's not a small pen. This is a very comfortable and well-sized pen in the hand. It's really a joy to write with. So I mentioned the fact that this comes with a plain Yovo nib. Now that is both a blessing and a curse. Blessing from the point of view that is interchangeable and that you can get number 6 size nibs from a number of different brands that you might be able to replace into this pen. But also it's a I wouldn't say it's a curse necessarily. I shouldn't say that, but because it is a plain sort of Yovo nib that has been branded, we do know that how this is more or less going to write. And if you've written with them, you're not going to get a writing experience that is new or exciting. But because it is a number 6 nib, you can swap it out for anything you want that fits that size. Let's do a writing sample now with this pen. Now here I have some 80-gram rhodia paper, the absolute standard. Smooth paper, smooth nib. The ink I have in this is a Diamine Purple Dream, which is from their second 150th anniversary set. Here we have the Fine Writing International Brass. I'll just adjust my grip so you can see a bit more. Fountain pen with a number 6 Yovo steel. This is a medium nib. The ink is So the first thing you can hear more than anything is that this is a smooth nib. There's not a huge amount of feedback. You can feel it on the page. It's not buttery smooth, but it's pretty smooth and it's pretty wet. Now, this Diamine ink is not a dry ink, but I really think that's still quite a pretty wet pen. I'll just bring this up nice and close so you can see. You can see it lays down a lovely, even, quite generous medium line like most sort of Yovo nibs do, but puts down quite a lot of ink and nice and nice and even, which I like. It's not sort of shading happens because the ink, not because the pen is not able to keep up. Let's just do a quick little writing sample. Now, if I just do a quick sample. This pen keeps up absolutely perfectly. Let's do a little reverse. It's actually not so bad. It's ultra fine and a little bit scratchy, but it does give you the opportunity to write a few words if you needed to. Flex, not going to happen. You can get a little, it just doesn't keep up. The nib isn't soft. It's sort of allowing a little bit more ink down, but it's it's not flexing necessarily. The tines aren't opening to allow more ink down. But this is a beautiful pen to write with, I've got to say. I've now had this a couple of fills of different inks. It's beautiful and smooth, as I said, it's wet, it's generous. If we just do some right-handed writing, just for the sake of the exercise here. Oh, that's reverse, my bad. Fine. This is so smooth and badly written. It's just gorgeous to write with this pen. Obviously a lot of that is in the nib, but also the way the pen feels in the hand. It's all perfectly well tuned. I really can't complain about how this pen writes. As I said, it's just a plain Yovo number 6, but in a medium nib, but it's the way the pen feels in the hand. I can't quite describe it. The balance is so right. It leads the pen nicely down onto the paper. It's a good width. It sort of fits nicely into the webbing of your hand. There's nice balance because there's a little bit of brass in the end there gives it a nice sort of little bit of gentle sort of suspension in your hand. It's a lovely pen. I really like this pen a lot. Like a lot. Just wait till the end of the year, that much. Let's see how that goes. But there's always going to be pros and cons with any pen. So let's start with the cons. Okay. Price and availability. Now this pen retails for 130 to 160 Australian. Now that's not too expensive. It's cheaper than things like the recent Esterbrook Esty, and cheaper than a lot of other steel pens, particularly sort of handmade acrylic pens and things like that. This pen has interest to it. It's different. So you are going to pay a little bit more for that, but it's still not hugely expensive, let's be honest. There are a lot worse. The other issue is availability, and I think this will improve. I think as these pens become better known, as the production becomes a little more frequent, Fine Writing International pens will become more established and probably find their way around the world. You can get it from Fine Writing International. They are a store in their own right. They produce these pens in-house, and so it's a beautiful pen for them to stock, but there's a couple of stores in the UK, I'll link to one down below right here, which sells them, and they're going to become more available. But at the moment the availability is a bit of an issue, particularly if you're wanting to, if you're in America and only wanting to buy from America, that might be a bit of an issue. The other big issue for this pen, and the only real issue, like, it's a cartridge converter pen, can convert it, eyedrop it, all that stuff. Yeah, it's not a piston filled pen, not a problem for me. But this cap is really heavy. When the pen is capped, you do feel the weight of the pen in the top. It's not necessarily a problem if you're putting it in your pocket, or I carry this around in a leather sleeve, and it's absolutely fine. It's a good size, so it fits in there nicely. But there is a lot of weight in that cap, and when you take it off, uncapped, the pen is perfectly balanced. But it's really not a pen you can post, even though I think it's designed to be posted. That's just like, it's like writing with a baseball bat. Like, that's where the weight is, it's all at the top. So not necessarily ideal. Now for pros, the size of this pen is perfect. Like, I don't think there'll be many hands where this would be too big, and I certainly don't think this is ever going to be too small for anybody's hand. It's a really solid size. Like, I think that the, you know, it sort of compares in a lot of ways to, say, like a Pelican M800 sort of size. I think it's really very comfortable. The shape and size of the section, that little taper is beautiful, and the width is great. I have to say it's one of the most comfortable sections on any pen that I've been using recently. So it's great. The nib, sorry. Yes, it's just a standard nib, but it's smooth and it's wet, and I can't complain. I also really like how the pen is packaged. This little tin is very cool. It's very safe, it's strong. Like, that foam is really going to protect the pen. I think it's nice, and it's certainly something you could reuse, which I'm all for. The last thing I want to say about this pen is that it is super, super robust. You do not feel like you are holding a pen that is inexpensive or cheap. It's got weight, it's got substance. There's something about this pen. It's very nice. So if you're in the market for something a little bit different, not too expensive, but something that's eye-catching, people comment on this pen a lot, both pen people and non-pen people. So I think you need to check this pen out. If this is the sort of pen you're interested in, I can't recommend this pen enough. I think this is a really good pen. Really, really good pen. I love writing with this. I've done more writing with this pen in the last few weeks than any other pen. I think I really like the design aesthetic. It's not perfect. I think that as I said, the weight is hard to balance. It is very cap heavy, and so posting it is not ideal in any way. But as I said, absolutely big enough to use unposted, and a real joy to write with. So this pen, if you are interested, if it's a pen that strikes your fancy, don't waste time, check it out. I think it's a really, really top quality pen. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at @the_offstage_me. So please get in touch over there. I'd love to see what you're up to. Please also get in touch if there are products you think I should be looking at. I'm always interested in finding out about new brands, new products from the countries that you guys are all in. I try and do as much Australian content as I can, but I'm interested in products from all over the world, so let me know what's happening near you. Also, if there's a way you'd like to support the channel, either by sponsoring a review or providing products for review, get in touch and let me know, and let's see what we can do. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, particularly if you have one like this, which is really astounding. Enjoy your writing, and I'll talk to you later.